Hi everyone and welcome to this new video where I'm going to talk about MPT, Multipurpose Token, the new amendment which went live recently on Mainnet. Multipurpose Token. So this introduces a third kind of token on the ledger. The first one was XRP, the native token of the ledger. Second one is the IOU, which uses trust lines. And finally now we have MPT. So MPT introduces 4 new transaction types. The first one is the MP token issuance create. Second one is the MP token authorize. Third one, the MP token issuance set. And fourth, MP token issuance destroy. And we'll have a look at those transactions later in the video. So MP token issuance create at a high level will allow you to define the MPT parameters and the flags. So the parameters can be the asset scale, can be the maximum amount of MPT you can create, and the flags will allow you to define if the MPT can be traded on the DEX in a version 2, if it can be clawbacked, if you can transfer it between holder accounts, if you can lock it, etc. And again, we'll have a look later at it in the video. So when you execute that transaction, it will create an MP token issuance object on the ledger, which will be linked to the directory node of the creator. And this is submitted by the creator or the issuer account. Second transaction type is the MP token authorize, and you submit it from a holder account. And you basically tell that you allow your account to receive that MPT. It's a similar concept as the trust line, where the trust line you trust the issuer and you allow to receive the token. Here you allow to receive the MPT. Third one is the issuance set. So here we can lock or unlock the MPT with a flag. But to have this issuance, to be able to lock or unlock, you must have the canlock flag enabled, okay, when you create your MPT. And that's a transaction which is submitted by the creator or the issuer account. The last one is the MP token issuance destroy, and that basically removes the token from the ledger. It destroys it. It removes the MP token issuance object, and that transaction will fail if any MPT is still in the hands of any holder account. So you must claw back all the MPT, or the holders must send the MPT back to the issuer before you can submit that transaction, the destroy one. To look at those MPTs, I've created a UI that will help us to understand the flow of MPTs. I previously liked to work with JavaScript and show you the code, but I think it's going to be interesting with the UI. And anyway, the transactions are submitted the same way to the ledger. You would construct your JSON body, you would sign the transaction, and then you submit it to the ledger. So I hope this UI will be helpful. So here I'm connected to DevNet, and I have 2 main panels on this UI. The first one on the left is to generate accounts, and the one on the right is to execute transactions on the ledger. So we have different tabs. First one is to create an MPT. Second one is to authorize it. The third one is to destroy the MPT. The fourth one to send an MPT payment. Then we can claw back an MPT, lock or unlock an MPT. And finally, I've added a tab to look at all the transactions that we submit through this application. So let's start by generating a new account. It's going to be my issuer account, let's say. Takes a few seconds. I'm going to generate a new one after to create like a holder account. Still generating. And in the meantime, so we have this create MPT panel here where we can define multiple things. The parameters that I mentioned before and the flags. So the first one here is the asset scale. The asset scale then defines where to put the decimal when you send a payment. And this is like a simple table to explain you, for example, what's the account balance based on the amount that you would send. So if you define the asset scale to 0, and if you send 1 MPT, then the account balance will be 1 MPT. Then if you start putting the asset scale to 1, then same thing, if you send one MPT, the balance will actually be 0.1. And we keep going. The asset scale at 2, the receiver will have 0.01 MPT. Asset scale at 3, 0.001, etc., etc. So that's a way for you to define where the decimal will be for your MPT. Then after the asset scale, we have the maximum amount. It basically defines how many MPTs you will ever be able to create on the XRP ledger with all that information. So it's a limit to the maximum supply of token. Then we have a transfer fee. If when two holders, they decided to send MPTs to each other, then a fee can be applied. And something really interesting with MPT is that you can now add metadata to it. So there is a standard on the XRPL Foundation GitHub repo, which is XLS89, and that defines the fields to put. It's like a recommendation. It's of course not enforced by the ledger, but it's a nice like schema, a recommendation to have all your MPTs with the same metadata. So here I created a metadata following this XLS89 schema. Of course, all the data in there is random and is not valid, but that's how it would look. And when you submit the creation of the MPT, you would stringify that metadata and then you will convert it to hexadecimal. And then we have the token flags. So the flags, as you can see, you have several options. You can decide if the MPT can be locked or unlocked in the future. You can define if it requires authorization. So that's also something similar for the trust lines. Then that means that you have to approve each individual holders that they will be able to hold that token. You can define if your MPT can be escrowed. You can define if you can trade it on the DEX. Of course, once that feature will be available in a potential version 2. You can define if you can transfer that MPT between different holders. And finally, if you can clawback that token. So here, for my MPT, I'm gonna select the clawback as well. The transfer is selected, the trade, I can select the lock. The can escrow, I will not select it here because the token escrow amendment is not live yet. So I'll just do it this way. So now let's create the MPT. I'm gonna select my issuer account, my creator on the top left. And let's create that MPT now. It's gonna take a few seconds for the MPT to be issued. I'm gonna open the console quickly because here you can see in the result, if you go to the meta section, you have this MPT issuance ID 0013, and that's what you would need in the future to create the authorized transaction, the destroy, and the set. That's this MPT issuance ID. Okay, so now we have created it, and let's go to the authorized. Well, before going to the authorized, I'm going to quickly show you the transaction, how it looks like. So you have the transaction type, the account, the scale, the transfer fee set to 0, the maximum amount, and the metadata, which is the hexadecimal value. Let's go to the authorized section. Now I'm going to select my second account, which is going to sign the authorized transaction. I select the MPT that I created, authorize, and I can submit that transaction. This is how it looks like. You have the MPT token authorized transaction type and the MPT token issuance ID. That's what we need here. If we go to the history, we should have two transactions which are validated in the ledger, authorize, create, and let's go to an explorer to have a look also at the transaction. So I'm currently on BitHump and I typed the address of my holder account. And if I can look at the account details, we can see that we have a payment which was done in the last 5 transactions, and we have an MPT here in our objects. And we can see the currency here. We can see some more details, the issuer and the amount. Remember that the scale was 2, so here we have actually 0.01 unit of that MPT. Let's go back to the UI, and now let's do a transfer between two accounts. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a third account, which will be my holder 2. Here it is. I will first authorize that MPT. Authorize, I send the transaction. Same thing here. MPT token authorize. Let me copy that address. I'm gonna go back to BitHump. I'm typing the address, and we have now the MPT, which was here. And if we go to the transactions, we should see authorize. MPT token authorize, right? So now we can do, in the UI, we can send a payment between account holder 1 and account holder 2. I'm selecting my MPT. Let's say I'm gonna send, again, 1, because I think I have only 1 there, or 1 unit. The destination will be the account 3. I'm sending my MPT. Let's have a look. The history here, we have the payment in a validated ledger. Let's go back to my account. I refresh, 1 here, and we have it. If we go to the account page, we should see now we have this +1 unit, which has around 0.01 here with the scale at 2. Now back at the UI, I will show you how to clawback. Very easy. I'm going to my issuer account. I'm selecting the MPT, and I want to clawback 1 from the holder 3. That's it. I'm clicking on the button. That's how the JSON looks like, the clawback transaction. The amount is an object, MPT issuance ID, the value. And if we go back to the Explorer, let's refresh that page. We have now 0. There was a clawback which was done and no MPT there. Finally, let me show you how to destroy an MPT. So I'm selecting again my issuer, selecting it. I destroy my MPT and it's done. Let's go back to the history. It's validated. And this is it. So one last thing I didn't show you is the lock unlock, but that would be the same process. You would select the creator of your MPT. You would define the action to do, lock or unlock. You select your MPT and you lock it. Then when 2 holders will want to send MPT to each other, the transaction will fail. That's all for MPT. I hope that was useful. Write in comments your questions. Let me know if this UI was useful. And again, you can access it at this UI, mpt-demo-comments.versa.app. And see you in the next episode.